We'll do a review in Mamorim Meluket Mechelik Aleph. This is the 30th Maimer. The Maimer, the Rebbe said on Yom Simchas Torah Tovshin Mem, and the Maimer is by Yom Hashmini Atzeres Tiyelochem. Later on, they published this Maimer in a booklet for Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah Tovshin Mem Zayin, and that was in honor of Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. And the date was Erev Chag HaSukkos, Heizu Shnas Mashiach, Tavshin Mem Zayin. Okay, so we'll do inside. Bayom Hashmini Atzeres Tiyelochem. So this is the pasuk which says that on the 8th day it should be the Atzeres to hold back the Yom Tov, stay held back from work. It should be to the people, to the Yidden. That's Shmini Atzeres. And the Rebbe discusses now that really Shmini Atzeres is a Yom Tov by itself. Why do we connect it as the 8th day? Why don't we say the day of the month, the 22nd day of the month? So it's known the questions that our rebbes, our leaders, have in this pasuk. Shmini Atzeres uregel b'fnei atzmei. Shmini Atzeres is its independent yontav li'inyan. When it comes to, as the Gemara says, Pazer Keshev, Payez, Zman. There's all the various different things that are abbreviated by the abbreviation of Pazer Keshev. So it is not part of the Sukkot festival. It's its own. It has its own ideas, its own aspects, the Pazer Kesher. So since it's not really part of Sukkot, the Pasuk should have said Be'esrim V'shnayim Yom L'Chodesh HaShvi. It comes on the 22nd day of the 7th month. Just like in the other festival in which the Torah says that you do it on the day of the month. So on the 7th month, the first of the month is Rosh Hashanah. And the 10th of the month is always the days of the month. That's Yom Kippur. Is Sukkot. Why does it not say is Atzeres instead of saying by Yom Hashmini Atzeres? So although there is a connection between Shmini Atzeres, because the Shmini Atzeres is a follow-up to Sukkot, because all the inyonim that came down on Sukkot, the spiritual experiences get absorbed on Shmini Atzeres, but it's not unique only to the experiences of Sukkot. Atzeres also all the inyonim of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. So it's not only Shmini; it's the hemshech to the whole month. V'agam sheshmini Atzeres bo behemshech l'zayin yimei Sukkos, even though Shmini Atzeres comes as a continuation of the 7th day of Sukkot. V'yodua, it's known shebishmini Atzeres ne'etzorim v'niklotim ha'inyonim l'zayin yimei Sukkos. The Shmini Atzeres, they're held up and absorbed all the matters of the 7th day of Sukkot. So the 7th day of Sukkot are in the 8th day. So it seems that 8th would be appropriate, but it's not unique only to Sukkot. Hari b'Shmini Atzeres, Netzorim v'niklotim gam ho'inyonim d'Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim. But on Shmini Atzeres are held and absorbed also the matters of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. V'afal pikein einei nikra b'shem kozeh, and yet we don't call it this Yom Tov with such a name, sheyoyre, that will point al shaychusei, on his connection with Shabbat B'Hemshech L'Rosh Hashanah V'Yom Kippurim, that there's a connection between Atzeres and Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. It's only Shmini Atzeres. V'lo ma nikra Hashem Shmini Atzeres. Why do we call it Shmini Atzeres? If it's because it's absorbing and it's bringing down all the previous matter, it's not unique to Sukkot. It's not only Shmini, it's for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur as well. So why Epes Shmini Atzeres? Frat al pi Torah Baal Shem Tov. Especially according to the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, that the name that you call it in Loshen Kodesh, that points to the content of this matter. Meaning, the name of something is not just an arbitrary name, but the name represents the contents of what is called by the name. It, to the extent that it points on the vitality, the existence, is the name that points to what the energizing force of that item is. Move on. So from this it's understood that the main aspect of Shmini Atzeres, that's called Shmini Atzeres. What's the main aspect of this day is Shmini. That it comes as a continuation to the 7 days of Sukkot. Also, we have to understand Atzeres Tiya Lochem. It should be held for you. Isa b'medrash. So the medrash we find, it says Ado diksiv. This is what this, as the pasuk writes, Yeh l'chol levatcho ve'ein l'zorim itoch. It's l'chol lochem yeh l'chol levatcho, and others don't have a pardon. So there's the positive and also the emphasis that others not. So he's saying two things over here in this medrash. Inyan del Cholavatcha, saying that it's just you, which would mean Yisrael or Malko Bechidoi, that this is the time where the Yidden and their king Hashem alone, only them. That's number one. But there is more than that. Aval Afa Pikein, but still, Mizeh Gufa Shetzorich Lishlol. She'ein Lezorim Itoch, from the fact that we need to reject that is just you, but other strangers don't have a part. Move on. It's understood. Sheyesh mokim lekosal kadaitoch sheshmini atzeres ugam lezorim. That means that there is a thought, there is a possibility that Shmini Atzeres should be also for others. That's why we need to negate, and we need to say, no, Atzeres ti lachem, it's not for others. Basically, if there would not be, so otherwise he should just say til cholavatcha. The fact that he has to say ve'ein lezorim itoch means that there's a possibility. That's maybe you would think there is, and he says no, it's lachem. So what is it? Gam tzarich lahavin, also have to understand Shmini Atzeres koidel gam simchas Torah. That Shmini Atzeres includes also the rejoicing of the Torah. We conclude the Torah and we do the simcha of the Torah. So in Chutz La'aretz it's 2 days, but ba'ad, to the extent Sheb Eretz Yisrael, in Eretz Yisrael, by us it's the second day of Shmini Atzeres, but in Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Asher Goymer Tomid Ein Hashem Elokecha B'Mereishis Hashanah V'Adachris Shana, the land of Eretz Yisrael, which constantly is Hashem's eyes are there from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Of this Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah Hem B'Yem Echad. So Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah one day. It's not Shmini Atzeres in the first day and Simchas Torah the second day. They're both in one day. V'gam b'chutz la'aretz shem beis yomim, even in chutz la'aretz, which there are 2 days. Hare Simchas Torah, it's not its own day. Hu b'yom tov sheni the Shmini Atzeres. So it's on the second day Shmini Atzeres. So yedu hadiyuk b'zeh. So the question that is known, Ma shekovu Simchas Torah b'Shmini Atzeres. Why the rabbi set up Simchas Torah on Shmini Atzeres? The l'chayre hutzruchu lase Simchas Torah b'Chag HaShavus. They should have made the joy of the Torah to conclude the Torah on Shavuos, which is Man Matan Deresenu. That was the time the Torah was given. So why don't we have Simchas Torah set up on Shavuos? Base. So the Rebbe asked many of these questions. Why is it called Shmini Atzeres? And what's the connection? It's a Yom Tov by itself. And why does it say Lochem? Why would the others have, which brings down from the Medrash, others may have a place there, and we're saying it's Lochem. And why is Simchas Torah on Shmini Atzeres? In many places it's explained, the reason we make Simchas Torah and Shmini Atzeres is haluchos ha'achronos. Those are for the later luchos. Shenitnu b'yom kippurim. They're given Yom Kippurim. They're given Yom Kippur, meaning not Shavuos, in which the Eibishter gave the first luchos and then they were broken, but we celebrate Simchas Torah on the second luchos, which were given on Yom Kippur. And that follows, Shmini Atzeres follows Yom Kippur. This itself, that the joy of Simchas Torah is on the second luchos, on the later luchos, and not on the first luchos. That itself, Tzarech Biur needs to explain. The main revelation and the main completeness of the Torah was Benesinas Luchas Harishonis. Really, fully, completely, the Torah was given more by the first luchas. As the Rebbe will explain, that was a level of shleimus. Hey, Benegel Yisrael Shahoyu Oz Betachlis HaShleimus. Whether it's as it relates to Yidden, the recipients of the Torah, at that time they were in completely whole. They were the ultimate, completely Yidden were whole. Later on, they made the Egel, and then they get the Luchas Shneis. But by the Luchas Harishonis, they were on the highest level. They were totally complete. The B'maimed Har Sinai Posca Zu Hamosom was because at the time of Har Sinai, there's Zuhama, their dirt that they got attached to them from the Chet Etzadas, stopped at Posca Zu Hamosom. It ceased then, and therefore they were clean. And also as it pertains to the world, at the time of Matan Torah, there was actual revelation of the Eir Ein Sof below. That's only by the Luchas Harishonim, by Matan Torah. The pasuk says, "Vayered Havaya al Har Sinai." Hashem descended on Har Sinai. V'tergam v'izgali, and the translation of Vayeri revealed. V'gilu zeh, that revelation was by Maimon Har Sinai, and that revelation, Paul accomplished b'chol ha'olam, impacted the whole world. Maimon Azal, as our sage of blessed memory say, Tziper leitzavach, oif loi parach, shor loi go. That neither did the birds chirp, and the birds didn't fly, and the goats didn't make their sounds, their noises. So everybody was affected by that revelation of godliness on Har Sinai. The world changed. The animals responded and were affected by it, impacted. To the extent it so much was, the world was impacted that the sound, the voice of Aseret Hadibre, Hayanishma Mekol Daled Haruchesh, was heard from all four sides, umilmailo umilmata, from the top and from the bottom. As the Welt v'chol avov ktsavis sheba mois gishriyin anoicha Hashem Elikecha, that the world and all the four corners would cry out, Anoicha Hashem Elikecha goimer lo yih lecha goimer. So the world, all parts were proclaiming the Aseret Hadibros. The Chol Zahoye Beluchas Harishenis Davke. This was all during the first Luchas. Veloma Kovu Simchas Torah B'Shmini Atzeres Aluchas Achrenis Davke. So we see the world was complete, the Yidden were complete by the first Luchas, but we set up Simchas Torah and Shmini Atzeres for the later Luchas Davke. Now, there's explained that there's actually an advantage in Luchas Shnius. That what is explained in several places. Why are we making Simchas Torah for the later Luchas? Is because Mipnei Shabeluchas Achroinis Ksiv. The pasuk says, with regards to the Luchas Achroinis, it says, "Vayagid lechot talumis chokma kikiflaim l'tushia." He told you the hidden wisdom double to come. So you get double with the second Luchas. So that is tzorich bir. So it seems like in this case the Luchas Achronis have a lot more than the Luchas Rishonos, but that also needs to be explained. The Mekivon she'inyan hagilu de matan Torah b'Yisrael be'olam hoy beluchas Rishonos dafke kenal. Let it be that there was an expression of double. The Yidden at the second Luchas, the Yidden got a lot more. The Rebbe will articulate later on that they got a lot more, but as far as the revelation for the Yidden and the level of the Yidden and the impact on the world, that was by the first one, not by the second one. And how do we celebrate Simchas Torah? We don't celebrate the Chochmah, the learning. Simchas Torah is celebrated by the dancing. So the Simchas Torah, so there should have been the joy of Simchas Torah, which is singing and dancing, which is Inyan Hagilui, which is revelation. That should have been Mechag Shavuos. That should have been on the festival of Shavuos. Shaboy Nitnu Luchas Harishonim Begolui Bepirsum. Then the first Luchas were given openly and publicly. Seems to be fitting that level of expression reveal that we have on Simchas Torah would be fitting for Shavuos, in which Zman Matan Tereseinu, which was being given Begilui, the Luchas Rishonos. Especially according to what's explained with regards to the dances of Simchas Torah. Dancing is mainly in the feet. And in the feet itself, in the heel. Dancing is in the heel, the bottom, and this is the lowest part of the person. It's only that through raising and dancing of the lowest part, also the head gets raised and dances. Move on. So from this understood, Shasimcha, the Simchas Torah, since it's expressed in the lowest part, in the feet, in the Akev, that the joy of Simchas Torah, he beikir, loy mitzat pulas ha-Torah bi-Yisrael. That's not so much of what the Torah impacts the Yidden, li rosh Yisrael, made up from li rosh, the level of the head. Ki mitzat pulas ha-Torah ba'olam shu tafel, but it's mainly because of the impact of the Torah in the world, which is secondarily Yisrael. Bedugmas haraglaim should fail la rosh, similar to the feet, which are secondary to the head. Uba'olam gufa, and also within the world. So first of all, the fact that it's the feet means it's the world. That's mainly, and the world gufa binyan hatachtenim shabai b'chinas ekev, within the world, and the lower levels of the world, and the level of ekev. That's where the dancing goes. So that means that's the Torah is able to influence even in the lowest parts of the world. Based on this, it's not. It's even more not understood. Why did they set it up on the second luchas, the later luchas davke? The advantage that the later luchas did get is an intellectual, but not in the impact on the world. This advantage that there is double, the luchas al-sheinish achronis had double. That's something which Yidden are impacted. They get double. So why would we? The dancing is not so much on the rosh, is not so much on the knowledge of the double, but it's mostly in the impact in the world. Gamein and move on. Also, further, it's not understood the fizeh. According to this, Simcha the Simchas Torah, he aluchas ha'achreina shenitnu b'yom kippurim. If the joy, according to this, that the joy of Simchas Torah is for the later luchas were given on Yom Kippur, so we should have made Simchas Torah the day after Yom Kippur. Well, we can't do it on Yom Kippur. We can't. The fact that they didn't set it up on Yom Kippur itself, Yesh Loimar, we can say can say there can't really be joy without eating and drinking. Yom Kippur, you can't eat and drink. So we can't have Simchas Torah. It should have been immediately after Yom Kippur. Why Shmini Atzeres wait till after Sukkot? And we can even ask more. Maybe we should do it on Yom Kippur. You can say even more. It should have been on Yom Kippur, and the Simchas Torah should have overridden the fast of Yom Kippur. The Chanukah's Beis Hamikdash. We find that in that year when they dedicated the Beis Hamikdash, Le'asu Yisrael L'Shem HaKippurim, the Yid did not do the Yom Kippur. They were busy celebrating the Chanukah's Beis Hamikdash. V'yotzu Baskel v'amru lahem, and the voice came out and told them, Kulchem muzumonim l'chayil mabo. You are all ready for the world to come, which means it's nothing wrong what you did by not fasting on Yom Kippur and celebrating the dedication of the Beis Hamikdash. K'asimcha de Chanukah's Beis Hamikdash hinailis yoser ma'inu di Yom Kippurim, because the joy of the dedication of the Beis Hamikdash is greater than fasting Yom Kippur. Umikiv on shasimcha the simchas Torah simcha gedol b'yesur. Since the joy of the Torah is a very great simcha. To the extent that is greater than the joy that we do Simchas Beis HaShe'eva, Simchas Torah is greater. And with regards to Simchas Beis HaShe'eva, it says that Misha Leiro Simchas Beis HaShe'eva, Leiro Simcha Meyamo. If you hadn't seen the joy of Beis HaShe'eva, you didn't ever saw a Simcha, meaning it's the greatest form of Simcha. And still Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah is even a greater Simcha than that. So it would be fit to set up Simchas Torah on Yom Kippur itself, It's the question, not only after Yom Kippur, maybe even on Yom Kippur, and let it override the fast day. We'll do away with Yom Kippur altogether. But the question is, why did we set up Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeres, and not right after Yom Kippur? So the Rebbe analyzes the answer that is brought down in some places that the Simchas Torah is for the second Luchas, and the Rebbe asks, why actually does that take place? While there is taken advantage in the second Luchas, as far as the Kuflayim Litushia, you got double in the knowledge, but the accomplishments and the level of the Yidden and the accomplishment in the world, the impact was mainly by the first Luchas, and the dancing is mainly with the heels, with the outside. Why not do it and close to Yom Kippur even? So why was Simchas Torah set up on Shmini Atzeres, as the Rebbe will continue to explain.